let's get to our next segment, which is literally just called Fixing the Power Play. No wrong answers, folks. Get them into the YouTube live chat. We've got over 60 replies to the tweet on Canucks Army, and I tweeted something from my personal account as well that's got a lot of replies as well. So Harm, I will start with you. Or do you want me to start with how I think they should fix the power play? And again, I don't think there's any wrong answer. I also don't know if there's a right answer, but this is the first one that comes to mind for me. Is just, I've been saying it for a while. You have to get Nils Höglander in the bumper spot, but I still think that doesn't get the results that you need from Elias Pettersson on the half wall. And that's another issue, I think, is, and I was trying to break this down with you before. Grady, can I get a paper and pen by chance? Because I'll
see what I can do.
I want to draw this, and I'm going to put it up on the camera. And for those on the podcast, I'll explain it first before I draw. So basically, we all know how the Canucks power play goes to work. When you have Quinn Hughes at the point, you've got JT Miller on the half wall. You have to have a left shot in the bumper with that formation. And then you have to have another left shot on the other side. And that left shot is Elias Pettersson. Excuse me, I shouldn't say you have to have a left shot. I'm saying that the Canucks choose to have a left shot in that spot, and it is Elias Pettersson. So what I've really started to notice is that when Quinn Hughes cycles the puck to JT Miller, guys kind of shy off and give Miller some space. But when Quinn Hughes moves the puck to Elias Pettersson, the penalty killer, one of them, the forwards, one of them goes high to Elias Pettersson and attacks him quickly because he's getting the puck often on his backhand, or he's going to have to make a move to kind of face the boards to keep the puck away from that oncoming penalty killer. So what I've noticed is teams are starting to pressure Elias Pettersson, so he has to move the puck back to Quinn Hughes or move it down low. And as soon as Hughes makes that pass, the other forward is going right to Quinn Hughes to take away the Hughes pass. So it's leaving Pettersson in some very, very vulnerable positions. And a lot of times he's bobbling the puck. He's falling over. He's losing the puck. And that's ultimately where a lot of the Canucks power play chances and power play offensive zone time seems like it dies, is when the puck goes through Elias Pettersson. This isn't a knock on Elias Pettersson. This is how teams are scouting them. This is what teams are doing to them. And one thing I found interesting last night was JT Miller said post-game that Dallas's penalty kill threw some different looks at them than was different in the pre-scout. So I found that interesting, and I wanted to dive into that a bit more. But basically what I'm trying to say is you've got Hughes at the top. You've got Pettersson on the wall. You've got JT on the wall as well. And basically, as soon as the puck goes from Quinn Hughes to Elias Pettersson, he's getting pressured, which means as a left shot on his offside, he's going to have to move, he's going to have to turn toward the boards, or he's going to have to receive the puck on his backhand. He's going to be in a completely non-competitive spot to shoot because he's not even going to be close to facing the net if he's getting the puck and he's immediately getting met with pressure, right? So if the forechecker's coming to Elias Pettersson, what Pettersson will often do is move it back to Hughes. This not only takes up time off the power play, but it keeps the Canucks to the outside. That's exactly what penalty killers want. What Dallas seemed to do last night, and why some turnovers were coming from Elias Pettersson, or looking like it, was because they were then taking away the pass back to Quinn Hughes. So you can see it here. No, you can't. But
get a little closer.
You could potentially. No, it's okay. Oh, it works. It works. There you go. So you see it. Those two arrows there, for those on the YouTube live show, those two arrows there are the forecheckers. So as soon as the puck goes from Hughes to Pettersson, he's being met with pressure from the penalty killers. And that's something that's different, I feel like, lately, is what we've seen.
Look at those illustrations.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you're bang on that point. I do think it's interesting that on the last power play opportunity that they had, they went with him in the bumper. I wonder if that's something they might experiment with, because ultimately, big picture, one of the main problems I see with the power play right now is they haven't found the right fourth forward all year.
Yes.
Right? At the start of the year, it was Kuzmenko, and Kuzmenko was sort of just an accessory. He wasn't an important part of that first unit's initial success. You had Hronek there for a while. Obviously, had Elias Lindholm there for a while. Had Connor Garland there for a while. Now you've gone with Pius Suter. None of those options have inspired much confidence.
Yes.
And you're not going with two defensemen on the power play by shuttling Hronek up.
Yeah.
And so that still stands out as an issue for me, because with this default set of JT on the left side, Pedersen on the right side, Quinn Hughes up top. They've had some variation of that since the 2019-20 season.
Yes.
What they're most familiar with, what they're missing this year, is a lethal shot in the bumper because Bo Horvat was that trigger man to keep penalty killers honest. And a lot of PKers started to cheat towards the middle, which meant, guess what? You're going to have space elsewhere on the ice, whether it's net front or more space for Pedersen.
And this is why I drew this illustration, is because guess what, folks? Those two arrows don't go to Elias Pettersson. One of those arrows doesn't go to Elias Pettersson. The other one doesn't go to Quinn Hughes. If they have someone in the bumper that teams are viewing as a threat, those arrows don't go out high like that. They cheat to the middle, to the bumper, as you just said. They were cheating to Bo Horvat, which made Elias Pettersson's a one-timer a serious option and a lethal threat. Like, we used to see Elias Pettersson take one-timers on the power play. Now he's got no time. He's got no space.
And Suter doesn't have that
lethal
shot to get it off. He can't really find those soft spots that he needs to kind of back into and then get that shot off. And what teams are doing now is they're focusing their defensive pressure over on Pettersson, on Miller, on Hughes, because they'll give Suter that shot all day long, right?
Yeah.
So you can kind of see how teams will scheme against them now if your bumper guy isn't able to pull the trigger.
So the question for me becomes, who goes to the middle? I've thrown out Nils Höglander. You need a left shot. You're not putting Ilya Mikheyev there. I've thrown out Nils Höglander. Who else?
I'll be honest, I'm not convinced they have the internal answer right now.
I think if you had to give an internal answer, it's Nils Höglander and then Vasily Podkolzin. Like, Vasily Podkolzin played on Abbotsford's power play.
Yeah, I don't think either one of those is magically fixing the power play.
No, but I think Höglander is an upgrade on Suter, and you need to at least take the upgrade right now.
What about Pettersson in the bumper? How do you guys feel about that?
This is the other thing that I'm considering. So I'm flipping the paper. Let's draw up a power play that has Elias Pettersson in the bumper, and who else? Like, it still gives you the same issue. Is you still need someone on that other side, and I don't think it would be a left shot, right? On the right side, I think it would be Garland, right? Thought about this in the shower, Harm. How nice would it be if Jonathan Lekkerimäki were actually ready for the NHL? And they're not going to rush him, and I commend them for that. But Vibes owner Quads is saying, sorry, this guy did what in the SHL? Sorry, this guy can shoot how quickly? This guy's release is how deceptive? Yeah, I want that guy. It's on my first power play.
It's funny
unit.
because that still wouldn't be a magic bullet answer, because Lekkerimäki most lethal from the left half.
Yes, I know.
JT Miller's side, and then you're saying, okay, well, he was in the bumper in Abbotsford. He's a right shot, so that still doesn't fix the power play.
But putting him on the right side, he'd still be a threat. He'd still be a threat. I would argue that a real shooting threat on the right side like that is still more effective than someone like Connor Garland, who's a much better playmaker than he is shooter.
What you could do, another option. I'm not saying this is the best option. I'm not saying this is plan B.
You thinking Brock Besser?
You could put Brock there.
Let's go.
And then net front, you could take your pick of Höglander, Joshua, whoever you want in that net front spot.
Okay, so Nikita Zadorov is the name that I come up with at the net front. Like,
you're hilarious.
Myers, Zadorov. I got a lot of that on Twitter today. A lot of people really liked it. Someone's telling me I should put this on the fridge. I should frame it. This power play drawings with quads. And again, I know those on the podcast to feel left out. I really haven't used the drawing that much. I've just flashed it at the screen twice. And I think we're doing a good job explaining it. But Harm, this is the other power play formation that I've thought about, is Brock Besser coming downhill. Because Brock Besser's a sneaky good playmaker, right? I think he has better playmaking than people think. I also think he's good on the wall. Like, he's good on the boards. He can get that puck back. And if I have to pick a net front guy, I'm taking Nils Höglander because I think he's really good on the wall and along the boards. And I'm putting Nils Höglander at the net front. Sure. Even if it's not Zadorov or Myers.
Yeah, I'm open to that.
Sorry, I'm drawing out the power play. So basically, how it would work, and for those on the podcast, it's a diamond. It's basically just a diamond with Elias Pettersson in the middle. Basically, that's all you have to imagine.
1-3-1.
1-3, yeah.
Yeah, 1-3-1, exactly. Yeah, I guess that's a better way of describing it than a diamond with Elias Pettersson in the middle. But you get it. You get it. It's a square now. But
and let's point one thing out too. Like, you have those spots illustrated there. The best power plays in the league have rotation. They don't have guys staying in the same spots. That's one thing I feel like they haven't been able to do is because they're playing so much around the perimeter, guys aren't really able to move in and out of those spots. And it just becomes too predictable for penalty killers.
Watch this. If Coach Quads has his whiteboard, you know what he's showing the group? Wait.
No, you got it.
The group might laugh at me a little bit, but that's what Coach Quads is showing the group. And for those on the podcast, I rotated the paper 90 degrees. What does that mean? That means JT Miller's at the point. Okay, it's not a perfect sketch. It doesn't work 100% if you rotate it 90 degrees. But what I'm trying to say, Harm, is another look that they could try is moving Quinn Hughes to the left half wall, him coming down low.
The one time we saw Quinn there, it didn't work. It's so hard for a defenseman to make that a half wall work.
Quinn Hughes isn't just any defenseman.
Name one defenseman that works running a power play from the half wall.
In my mind, Quinn Hughes.
Dude, I'm saying who is doing that right now?
Nobody.
Exactly. But who there's no proof of concept.
So it's a vibe.
But they need these kind of out of box ideas.
There
because
you go.
What the status quo just isn't working. I'm not saying that they should go to that, but it's going to take something unconventional to get it going, perhaps.
Harmon's big answer is, just try harder. Come on.
I didn't say that. I threw you a couple other looks that they could go with. I was the one that came up with the idea of Besser on the right half wall and the Hoglander net front.
On Hughes.
Guys stealing my idea.
Well, I drew it.
On Hughes, one thing we haven't seen since the start of the year is his shot was such a threat, and he was getting so many pucks, not only just on net for shots, but rebound chances. And talked about how they needed guys to get a little more gritty. Actually, I'm making the executive decision right here. We're going to hear from Rick talking on why they need that power play to get a little more gritty into those greasy areas.
Sometimes the power play, you got to get those gritty things. You need 3 people to the net, and like too many set plays that I think sometimes it burns us. We're trying to get guys to understand that we got to get the puck to the net. There's got to be gritty goals on power plays. It can't be pretty. That's really, they got a couple tonight. But yeah, unfortunate.
With Dakota back into the line.
Cut Faber off. What'd you think of that, Coach Quads?
Yes, he is correct. Of course he's correct. He's the coach. He's gonna win the Jack Adams Award. He doesn't need me to say, Rick talking might know what he's talking about. I absolutely agree with that, but who's there to clean up the garbage, right? Like when they make that traffic in front of the net, who's there to clean up the garbage?
Well, do you put Dakota Joshua on net front?
There's an interesting one. Dakota Joshua. I like Niels Hoglander because I think Niels Hoglander has the soft hands in close.
And he gets pucks back. Like his retrieval game is A1.
Yeah. And if they listen to me, Grady full screen me.
Oh my goodness. Okay, hold on.
Did you really make a paper airplane?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Throw it at the camera. See if you can hit it.
That was good.
Oh,
that was good.
That was not good.
That was a great throw. Anyways, I'm still going to use that.
It was promising in the beginning, but crashed hard.
I hope
Canucks power.
I hope the YouTube comments just meme the shit out of this whole segment.
Oh,
Quads
man.
drawing, and then they're gonna like Photoshop things on when he's holding up.
Yeah, it's just
like that Pedersen thing, reading out the lines in the dressing room. It's gonna be a new meme. Please, somebody in the comments, I'm begging you, please do it.
By the way, to react to what Talkett said, like you said, I get what he's saying, and I agree to some extent, but I also think to create some of that chaos, like look at Dallas, their first power play goal, right? Yeah, Rope Ahans has a greasy goal. It's a rebound goal. But look at what preceded that. Did you see their passing movement in and out? How many times it went from the flank to the bumper in and out? Elias Pettersson sprawling on the ice, completely bamboozled.
Yeah.
Like they completely tore apart the structure of that Canucks PK before they created the chaos.
Yeah.
When's the last time the Canucks moved the puck with that level of speed and crispness and pulled defenders out of position?
Like 2022? Like when they had Bo Horvat.
In the first month of the season.
For sure. But my point being is that
even Anthony Beauvillier too, like when he played that, he was finishing those chances.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Does this team miss Anthony Beauvillier?
No,
oh my God.
No, they don't. But
no, I know.
In all seriousness, like that was another look that Bo Horvat gave them, was the ability to kind of move it right back, right? Because you have those guys cheating. If they're cheating too much on Bo, he could move the puck back out. And that reminded me of a Canucks power play with Bo Horvat. And again, yes, they missed Bo Horvat. Can they overcome it and still be a really good power play? Yeah, they can. They might not have the answer in-house right now, but they could have an upgrade on P.S. Suter. I refuse to believe that.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you need it's a combination of many things. Like we heard Tocchet's answer, right? And Tocchet's not saying, yeah, we need to change up the personnel. I think they have changed up the personnel, but once they change that personnel, they also have to change what they're doing as well. And they need to listen to what Tocchet's saying about getting in and, too many set plays. Like that's how people scout you is, okay, we know they're going to do this. And if you don't have that threat, like a Bo Horvat, for example, teams are scouting you, and the set plays work a lot better when you have someone like Bo Horvat, right? Because even if the teams know what's coming, it's still going to beat them. Look at Alex Ovechkin for years on the Washington Capitals power play. It's never just been, yeah, if you just cheat toward Alex Ovechkin, you'll stop the Capitals from scoring. No, there's a reason that Alex Ovechkin scores so many goals from the exact same spot on the ice for all these years, and it's because they have other options. Right now,
John Carlson, yeah.
The Canucks don't have a ton of other options.
Yeah, I would also point out in that Dallas game specifically, they did a poor job of recovering loose pucks. It was a lot of, even when they did take a shot, whether it was blocked, hit the net, rimmed around on the other side, they didn't have enough tenacity to win those battles. A couple of situations where Miller, on situations where 8-9 times out of 10 he's recovering the puck, wasn't able to cleanly corral it, and it resulted in Dallas being able to get some clears.
Well, speaking of Miller, why don't we hear from him on assessing the poor power play here?
We had a couple of looks, but honestly, I just not enough, not good enough. Not enough momentum for the group. We're not getting any loose pucks back. Just feel like we're playing slow, and they gave us a little different look than probably the pre-scout suggested today, and I just don't think we responded very well. We had a couple looks, but we need to capitalize. We just need one right there, going into the third.
Super interesting about the whole pre-scout thing, them giving them
and
looks.
that's what I'm trying to figure out is if what he's meaning, because look, Miller understands the game at an extremely high level. He likes to talk the game at an extremely high level. He doesn't like to talk the game at an extremely high level after games. After losses, he doesn't really get into the X's and O's. Doesn't really want to give away much about the Canucks tactics at the best of times. But I think what he wanted to say there before he said different than the pre-scout, like he kind of paused there, not to get too tinfoil hat here, but I think what he was going to say is they were pressuring a lot harder than we expected. Like I think the Dallas penalty kill was just coming at them in a way that they weren't quite prepared for. And look, I don't have the drawing anymore, but I think that's what they were doing that kind of took the Canucks off guard, or caught the Canucks off guard rather, was them just pressuring up high, going to Pettersson as soon as he would get the puck, and then going out to Hughes to take away that return option for Pettersson.
That makes sense, but there are also so many little intricacies with the power play that, I mean, I haven't pre-scouted the Stars PK, so it could be a number of factors. I mean, I remember, and this is a completely different example, but at the start of last season, one of the first times they played Edmonton, I remember having a conversation with JT about the Oilers PK and how their look was a little different. And he would very specifically be pointing out that the structure that they had and the angles they were giving him, because when JT's down the left half wall, he also likes to shoot himself, because that way you have to be honest as a PK that, okay, he can shoot and pass. And he was like, they were forcing me farther to that left side, as opposed to I like to come down and be closer to being inside the dots. So it could be a number of things. Pressuring, I think that's probably one of the factors, but we don't definitively know what it was. It could have been a number of little things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was a number of little things that Dallas did really well last night. For the Canucks power play specifically, is there anything else that you wanted to bring up? We should get into some listener feedback. Like I said, we've got 60 replies.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah, we've got, well, don't speak too soon. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we've got 60 replies to the Canucks Army account. I didn't even check how many I had left on my account. I tweeted out from my personal account asking basically the same question. Actually, I should say I tweeted out and then the Canucks Army account stole from me. But anyways.
I told Robert to do that.
That's okay. Robert's a good dude. Okay. And I like this. I'm just gonna scroll through. I'm not gonna attribute answers to people because I'm not gonna read out everybody's username. But I'll tell you one from Turning the Tables. I know I already broke the rule. I said, but he said the big hog, Höglander. Get him out there. I think that's the most immediate answer for me.
Tocchet doesn't sound like he's close to considering it.
I know.
He was asked about it at morning skate, and you could just tell that I don't even think he liked the question.
Yeah.
that much. It doesn't seem like something that's registering as one of the first potential solutions.
I find it interesting because it's not just, and I know there's going to be people that say this is like, oh, well, he doesn't like Höglander. It's not that.
No.
It's not that at all. Rick Tocchet does a really good job of explaining why he's doing things or why he's not doing things. Like, that's something I've really come to appreciate since he's been in Vancouver, is he's very honest about basically any question you ask him, you're going to get an answer. And when I think back to when Höglander wasn't even on the power play, the answer Tocchet gave, I didn't love the reasoning per se, but he gave his honest answer. And the answer he gave was, he's playing so well at 5-on-5 right now, and who knows if we increase his ice time, if maybe that 5-on-5 play slips a little bit, and we really need him at 5-on-5. So getting him on the second power play, how important is that type thing? And that was his answer at the time. And again, I think I reacted to it when it was said. I didn't love it, but Höglander's on power play 2 right now. I almost wonder if Tocchet might be thinking in his head, like, okay, I like Höglander on power play 2, and I like where he is on power play 2, and we need to have 2 power plays that we can at least look to produce some offense.
Nah, I don't think that's...
What do you think the reason is?
If I had to hypothesize, I'm not trying to put words into Tocchet's mouth.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to look at it strictly, like just me looking at Höglander and a potential fit in the bumper, the 2 concerns I would have are, number one, look back at the tape on the goals that he scored in the NHL. He's not beating goalies very often with a snipe of a shot from the high slot. A lot of it is chances right around the blue paint, whether it's tips, deflections, rebounds, little backhands. It's not necessarily sniping goalies in finding the corners or the difficult spots like the bend shot, which was just above the pads, far side. That's a really tough location for a goalie to track the puck. Höglander's not hitting those spots when he's scoring in the NHL. Yeah. So that's number one. I don't know if he has the shot from that spot. The second aspect is Höglander does so many things well, right? He's got the unbelievable motor. He's tenacious. He wins inside body position. He's got quick hands. But one weakness that he perhaps has is that he doesn't have the highest offensive IQ.
Yes. That was
like reads and like, and that's a consistent thing that when you talk to other teams as well, the other people, not just people around the Canucks, like that's an observation they have too. And in the bumper spot, you need to be really smart about understanding when do I, like, you got to understand angles. You got to understand geometry really well, and understand what situation do I sag off and go to the high spot?
Yes.
What situations do I creep down a little bit? Because it's the middle of the ice. PKs want to protect that. So you have to be really smart about positioning yourself and actually getting open. And it requires a lot of very quick reads. And that's a lot to put on a player who, I don't even know if Höglander's played the bumper in his career before.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I mean, when we talk to other players that have played the bumper, and like, this is a conversation, I can't remember who I was talking to. It might have been Bo a couple of years ago, but actually, I think it was Bo. Anyways, doesn't matter. It was a player telling me about what it's like to play in the bumper spot. And basically what he said is the only way to get good at it is by getting reps in there. And you need a lot of reps to learn when to sag off, when to make those subtle movements, right? And like Brock Besser's somebody that we've seen kind of evolve in that role, but we know that they need to have a left shot for it to be effective for Miller, right? And again, Brock's probably not the answer in the bumper spot, but like there's a guy who does have that offensive IQ, does have that knowledge of shapes, and can, decide when it's good to sag off, when it's good to move in closer. I don't know what the answer is.
Let me throw this one at you guys. So last year and the years before, they had Jason King running the power play. Now, Quads, you reported last year, just off some simple Googling here, that they weren't going to hire a replacement for him. They decided they're going to go internally. They're going to have Rick Tocchet. We know the Sedins run power play too.
Mm-hmm.
They are 28th in the league right now since the All-Star game at the power play. They've dropped to 17th overall. Last year, I think they were 11th at 22%. Do you think not having a true power play coach, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm knocking the experience of Rick Tocchet, the Sedins, they have Sergei Gonchar here, but having someone who knows specifically how to get the best out of these players. And again, not saying that the current coaches don't, but some teams just have assistant coaches purely to work on the power play.
Most
do. Yeah, they do. And that was something I thought about, but I also tried to put myself in Rick Tockett's shoes. And I'm not trying to do a bit here, but like if I won multiple Stanley Cups as a power play coach, which Rick Tocchet has, I might say, yeah, you know what? I can do this on my own. And again, it's not like Rick Tockett's just operating on his own and saying, it's going to be done my way and nobody else's way. There's input from all sides, right? Like Rick Tocchet has conversations with his players. Rick Tocchet has conversations with his assistant coaches. Like Rick Tocchet can't talk enough about how much he relies on and appreciates the input of his assistant coaches. So again, I don't want to go down that train of thought, to be honest with you, Grady, because I just think that he has the experience as a power play coach. And like let's say Rick Tocchet wasn't the power play coach for the Canucks and there was a different head coach. If we had to pick, okay, who would you want to come in as the Canucks power play coach? Rick Tocchet would probably be pretty high on the list.
Yeah.
So I don't have an issue with it. And the Sedins would be pretty high on the list. The one thing I think about with the Sedins and power play too is like the Sedins are sitting in the press box. They can't make on the fly changes to power play too. And it's hard to say, yeah, they're running power play too. Yes, they're working with them a lot at practice, but the Sedins aren't on the bench.
Yeah. Also compare the Stars second unit to the Canucks second unit. Star second unit has Matt Duchene, Wyatt Johnston, Thomas Harley, I believe. They've got who else? They're
so deep.
It's so
Isn't it
stacked.
Stankoven now?
It might be Stankoven now. They've got an embarrassment of riches. Sagan. How did I forget about Sagan? Yeah, and Stankoven. Like that's for a lot of NHL teams that could be a first unit power play.
Yes.
If Jake Ottinger keeps up the play that he has, and I know they played some weaker teams, but last night he was pretty solid. Like, I think that's a pretty good, I don't want to say sneaky, but, second tier Stanley Cup contender.
Oh, I think they're first tier.
Yeah, I do think they're first tier, especially if Ottinger turns around. I think
that's
maybe
the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's the X factor.
I think they're second tier right now, but I would put them first tier if Ottinger turns things around.
Yeah. Also depends on how many teams you want to include in the quote unquote first
tier.
Yeah.
And I'm still not buying Ottinger, just so everybody knows. Still not buying the turnaround. This epic turnaround. He beat the Coyotes twice.
No, that's fair. But hey, remember the playoffs a couple of years ago against Calgary? He was unreal. And I know it was the Calgary Flames, but
I mean, he was good last year too. He did all of last year.
Don't forget that sometimes you have a guy like Bobrovsky, right? Yeah. Last season wasn't good at all in the regular season and then turned it on in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Goalies are volatile, man. We've talked about that many times.
Okay, anything else on the power play before we get to anyone else? Close out this sunny Friday afternoon. No, let's get to anyone else. Do you have anything on the power play?
I don't have anything on the power play.
And I know I said I'd read responses. I think I'm just going to put these all in an article. I think that's going to be something that's on CanucksArmy.com tomorrow. Is everybody's kind of takes on this. And I like some people busted out the notes app and wrote like essays. Like, look at this. Someone saw our tweet and responded with an essay in the notes app.
You know what would be really funny is to compile every single one, whether it's good or not.
Yeah.
And then can you imagine the Canucks coaching staff just going
take
through
it to talk it?
Yeah.
What do you think of this?
Put it in a bar graph.
Well, they'd have laughs at some of the suggestions. I wonder if on a couple of them they'd be like, yeah, I agree on that one. But also, I think it'd be really entertaining.
I like this one that I showed you, the notes app. This dude left his, like, he's showing us that he had the receipts. Like, he wrote this and he included in the tweet, February 22nd, 2024. He wrote this and he's like, I stand by this. And I love, that's a certain level of confidence that I think a lot more of us need to have in life. So shout out to Chris at WC Jays fan.
Well, when you're whipping out the notes app and you can't fit your thoughts in a 280 character tweet, like, and that's what I love about this market. Like, it's a smart market. There's people dialed in and you get former coaches weighing in, former players. And hey, when the team's struggling, like I said earlier, like, you got to welcome all ideas, even if some of them are crazy.
Yeah. I might have put these in a bar graph. Anyways, that'll be on Canucks Army. Hopefully.
How would you put them in a bar graph?
Yeah. Everybody who says put Höglander on will go to 1, right?
Okay.
And then everybody who says Hronik.
I don't think I don't think the ideas are going to be that
uniform.
Like, uniform.
It'd be a big bar graph. I can do big bar graphs.
Big bar graph.
Big what's this one? X-axis?
Dude, some of them are going to be like a paragraph explanation.
High school math class.
How are you going to fit that in a graph?
What do you mean?
Like the rationale. Like somebody's answer is going to be like many sentences long of how they'd fix a power play. How are you going to fit that
Well, I'll
on?
abbreviate it.
I don't think this.
I love that math guy Harm
gonna
is
work on a
challenging.
bar
I don't know. My
Vibes guy
vibes are
quads.
telling me that this is pretty good.
I like the
Besser-
idea of, of
here,
an article like this,
I'll
though.
scroll through. Grady, another piece of paper, please.
All right.
No, I'm joking.
Right.
I'm joking. But like here's an example. We've got so keeping track here. Hoglander. Okay, you might be onto something. Might be a little tough, but I'll figure it out. It might not be exactly how I framed it, but I'll get the best ideas or the most talked about ones. And the most talked about one is Hoglander in the bumper spot. But again, some interesting thoughts from you on that. And again, I thought thinking about it, just the conversation that we've had with guys who have played the game at a high level is to do it, to play the bumper spot, you need to get that experience and you need to do it. And hey, maybe that's an argument for the Canucks putting Hoglander there down the final stretch of the season because they need to figure out their power play by the playoffs. Maybe that's the argument.
Maybe.
Experimenting time is running. There's not a lot of time left.
Yeah.
Like these are things they have to sort out ASAP, and they're facing the Ducks next game. Like they could easily rip off 2-3 power play goals. Maybe not 3, but you know, you look back at that Colorado game. Colorado's power play turned it on. Canucks couldn't. Same thing last night, right? Special teams in a playoff series, it'll single-handedly win some games, and it can single-handedly win a series.
Yeah, you've got so few power play opportunities in the playoffs that, again, it bodes well that the Canucks are still playing really well at 5-on-5.
Yes.
Like, that's the silver lining from last night.
But that goes to the point where it's like, okay, if they can get that one power play goal, like the margins are so thin.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
That can make or break a game.
You don't want to be... Vegas in the past is a good example of a team that was so good at 5-on-5, but up until last season, the power play in the postseason was such a letdown. And you want to remember in the COVID year when Montreal made the Stanley Cup final, they beat Vegas in large part because of special teams.
Yes, that's actually
even though
great
Vegas
point.
was a way better team on paper than Montreal.
Yep. Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.